Hi there, I'm Terry and this is 5 Minute Velo. This will be the first in a series of videos where I'll be looking at going back to road tubeless tyres. Yes, I have tried them before, and in this video I'll tell you the story of my experiences. First of all, let's go back 5 years. At that time I thought I'd be pioneering and try road tubeless tyres. Well, actually it wasn't that pioneering, as there were a number of YouTube videos out there expounding the benefits of road tubeless tyres. However, my experience was quite as positive. In fact, I would say it was a complete disaster. So in this video, I'll describe a number of the issues that I encountered 5 years ago. Okay, I hear you say 5 years ago, that was a long time ago. Well, yes, my hope now is that technology has moved on and my scars from my previous experience have now healed. So I'm going to look to use road tubeless tyres on my new gravel bike, which you can see in the background. However, I don't want to forget about those previous experiences, and I want to carry some of the learning through into my new tubeless setup. I have to say I'm still a bit nervous about this because I know a number of advocates of road tubeless tyres that have since gone back to using tubes. So I'm not expecting it to be some sort of tyre nirvana. First of all, before I look back at some of those issues that I encountered, if you want to follow me on my tubeless journey, then please subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications, and also I'd love to hear about your experiences of road tubeless tyres. So leave some comments in the comment section. Back in 2017, I was planning to use these road tubeless tyres on the London-Edinburgh-London Audax. So I didn't cheap out on the conversion to road tubeless tyres. So my experiences really aren't down to me just cutting corners. What I'll do is I'll go back through some of the issues that I encountered, and in future videos I'll cover those issues and the solutions that I found to correct some of those issues. So let's move on to the first problem that I encountered. First of all, I decided to buy myself a decent set of road tubeless tyres, and I still have those tyres, and you can see one here. It's a Mavic tyre and it's 700C by 30mm. These were about £35 each, so they weren't cheap at the time. However, 5 years ago, technologically I suppose, was quite a way back. And it was the relatively early days of road tubeless tyres, and as it turned out, my choice of these Mavic tyres was not good. I wasn't the only person that was having problems with these tyres, and basically choosing these tyres was not a good choice on my behalf. So that was the first issue. The second issue that I encountered was some sealant. Again, I decided not to cheap out, so I went and bought some what I thought was good quality sealant. It was made by Continental. However, I had some problems with that. I found that it didn't seal holes in the tyres. Now, whether that was because of the technology or there was something wrong with the particular batch of sealant that I bought, I don't know. I bought some what I thought was good quality rim tape. When I started putting it on, I found that the adhesive on the backing started coming away from the main part of the tape, and therefore it didn't really give a good seal over the rim. That rim tape did cause me a lot of headaches. The next issue I had was with the rims. Now, the rims I had were aluminium alloy and they were mechanically jointed. I found that air leaked out through that joint, and of course my not very good sealant didn't seal it. The next issue was with the valves that I purchased. Now, these valves had square end blocks on them, and I found that they weren't really wide enough to cover the hole in the rim where the valve stem goes through, and I ended up getting leakage of air down through the side of those valves. And again, because the sealant wasn't working, it didn't seal up that. Now, finding those problems, working out solutions, meant it took me about 3 days to actually get the tyres to stay up reliably overnight. And when they did, I decided to go for my first ride. That first ride was a 200km Audax. Unfortunately, on the way to the start, after only about 4 miles, I got my first puncture, the hole was big enough or the sealant was bad enough that the sealant just sprayed out through the hole, covering me and my bike in sealant. I just put a tube in, pumped it up and carried on to the Audax, which I successfully completed. When I got back, as you can see here, this is the actual hole. I plugged the hole with a tubeless mending kit, and you can see the remnants of it just here. I went back to tubeless, I put more sealant in, pumped it up, and a few days later I went for another ride and I got this cut in the tyre. Obviously this is quite a large cut, that didn't seal either, so again I had to revert to putting the tube in. That was all in the rear wheel. During this time the front wheel, which was also tubeless, seemed to be working okay. Although over the next few rides I did end up having a few punctures in the front tyre. Now I find that these did seal, but they only sealed once the pressure had gone down to about 30 psi, which is very low. And as soon as I tried pumping it higher than 30 psi, the seal would break down, the air would be lost and the pressure would go down to around about 30 psi and it would seal again. So I ended up having to ride home with very low pressure in the front tyre, which meant the bike didn't handle very well. So overall, in about 250 kilometres, I'd had 2 catastrophic tubeless failures. By that I mean that I had to put a tube in, and I'd had several other minor tubeless punctures which really didn't seal properly and caused problems for the handling of the bike. I was so dissatisfied by the tubeless experience, I decided to go back and use tubes again. Not only that, I decided to take those Mavic tyres off. I put them away for 5 years and I just brought them out again now in order to make this video. So my previous tubeless experience was not very good at all. I found it expensive, I found it took a lot of time to get the whole thing set up adequately, and then when I used it, it was unreliable. Now I'm hoping technology has moved on and things are much better. I've also got the knowledge of what I learnt from that previous experience of tubeless tyres, and I'll apply that to my new tubeless setup. In the next few videos in this series, I'll go through each of those issues individually and tell you what I did to solve the problem. From me, for now, it's goodbye.